Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm David Steele and here's me truck, and today we're back at the Mack R. This is the R700. I'll just try and negotiate this. We're off to some salt mines, not the salt mines of Kessel. Let's just jump into the cabin, I think. No, not quite. Well, we're going to try and take a load here towards another steam accomplishment using this rather beautiful Mack R. And let's have a quick look around it. I mean, there's no train coming, right? I don't think so. No, okay. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening, so this is going to end up being a bit of a night drive. Quite a beautiful paint job we've got here. This is the Mack R accessory pack, and one of the paint jobs here. And yeah, black and yellow. The yellow is one of my colors. Black just looks good on a Mack. Once you get a Mack in black, you can't go back, or something like that. And usually, I would be bringing my own trailer to this destination, but we're going to just try a trip, just any trip. See if they've got anything going. All right, let's take a look. All right. Right, let's jump in and see what they've got going. So we'll look on external contracts first of all. I've not done an external for a while. And I don't think I need to be exceeding 65 miles an hour. Let me see. I would like something a little more interesting. But ideally, a food delivery, but I don't think... No, there's nothing here that really strikes my eye. I mean, a wheel loader sounds pretty cool, and it's got a short trip. Alright, let's see what's in the freight market. Moving containers, gravel, and pickups. Wow, is that it? Pickups is clearly a long trip. Yeah, 1,500 miles. I don't think we'll be doing that today. Gravel looks interesting. I mean, who doesn't like a gravel run? But it's 800 miles. And moving containers is a tiny cargo. That's just so lightweight. I don't... It's not that I mind light cargoes, of course not, but... It's really not that much to do. I think we'll go back to the external contracts. Now, these are a World of Trucks trip, so you got a speed limit of 45 miles an hour. Not too big a deal. Oh, Tulsa sounds interesting. What's that? 230 miles. We might do Tulsa. Those are the Volvo rims. All right, let's go to Tulsa. It's 45,200 pounds as a cargo, so that shouldn't be too much for what we've got on board the Mack. And here's a clue: it's not a Mack engine. Okay, just get back here. Dum. All right, set the bottom here. So under the hood of this Mack R700, see it has the extended hood. It's the medium-length chassis with the extended hood. And I don't know whether this engine really would have fitted under the bonnet here, under the hood. But this is the Caterpillar 1693. I think if this is the predecessor to the 3406A. Now, if you know the 1693, I can already hear your keyboards clacking, saying that doesn't sound like a... Yes, I know. It doesn't have the Caterpillar sound. It doesn't have the PC pre-combustion little clatters that you get. I don't have the sound for that. Now, if you want to do something productive rather than lambasting me for not having the sound and being the worst engine modder ever, go ahead and see if you can find the sound that I can use, and that would be really appreciated. So for now, we're using the same sound effects I use with 3406. Now, I get it. It's not as immersive as it could be. Okay. Let's line this up and turn my lights off. Just till I line it up. I'll line it up. That's probably... I don't think I'm using advanced coupling today. No, I'm not. Let's just go ahead and do that. Close enough. Lights back on. Right. We've also got a 9-speed transmission. It's a direct drive, and it's got a 325 final drive. That means about 1500 revs at 55 in top gear. Now the engine generates or predates the 1970s. It's from the 1960s, and so the speed limit for this truck would typically have been 55, 65, depending where you were, as I understand. And so they would be geared appropriately. So 1500 RPM at 55 miles per hour is round about the sweet spot of where this engine really wants to be. Now we're using the 375 horsepower variant today, and that has 1145 foot-pounds of torque, which is a pretty healthy amount for the 1960s. Now it is a bit of a lag there. It is a 14.6 litre engine, so it is kind of chunky. And it is kind of thirsty. I mean, the aerodynamics were not the most sophisticated back then. The gearing is pretty short, even though it's reasonable. Diesel quality wasn't the same as it is today either. So yeah, this is not going to be the most efficient run. Plus we've got a heavy cargo, but none of this really matters. I mean, diesel was extremely cheap in the 1960s compared to today. So the 1693, the definitions I'm looking at, I'm using. Let's just take a sip of water. Here we go. Okay, so I've got 4 1693s I'm working on for the Steele Productions Engine Pack. There's a 325 and a 375, so I guess you've got a low and a high turbocharged, and you've got a 380 and a 425 aftercooled turbocharged. No, that's not what we're playing around with today. Now the benefit of the aftercooler, and without getting too detailed into engine design and physics and things that are way beyond my knowledge level, the aftercooler cools down the air after it leaves the turbocharger and before it gets shunted back into the engine. And the cooler the air you have going back into the engine, the more power you can produce, all things being equal. Because the air is more dense, it carries a bit more oxygen. I guess we probably should stop. There we go. Well, this is the non-aftercooled version. So that means it needs a bit more boost pressure to get the same amount of power. And that, in turn, that has an impact on how the engine performs. So it produces its torque just that little bit higher up in the rev range compared with the aftercooled version. So a bit of a distraction there, just checking out where my girl cat is. She's in the room with me, and sometimes she likes to just reach up and claw me because she's a cat. But she's found comfort in some laundry. Yeah, so I wonder why my clothes always got cat hair in them. Now I know why. Anyway, she's comfortable. She's probably not going to claw me, which will cause some excitement on my end. Right, so aftercooling. Aftercooler, however you want to say it. That when your engine has the aftercooler, you can produce a bit more boost because you can produce a bit more boost lower down in the rev range, all things being equal. And of course, you can design an engine to do various things various ways. But in this case, this is the higher performance non-aftercooled version of the engine. And so it produces its torque just that little bit higher than the TA 380, turbo aftercooled 380. Does this make a difference on the road? Well, yes, it will. I'm going to use a bit of cruise control here. Let's get myself up to 55 at least at first. Yeah, so it does produce a difference on the road. You need slightly shorter gearing in this version, like for like. Now, whether truly you would notice it, let's just say you can tune the engine and the shift points so that you do notice it. And that's something that I'm working on for the engine pack. Now, it's going to be subtle because these two engines are let me explain, the turbo 375 and the turbo aftercooled 380. They're pretty close in terms of power output. In terms of torque, the aftercooler has a good chunk more. It's 100 and something, 105, I think, foot-pounds more torque. So you, no, it's more than that. It's 100 and, yeah, it's a bit more than 105. Either way, it's got a bit more torque, and it produces it just slightly lower down. So you do notice a difference. And really, I want to play around with the shift points so that you also notice it when you drive it automated. So this particular engine here, you saw it hold on to 8th gear for quite a while there. That's part of the tuning process. Let's go around this corner and see if we can get it up to 65. I don't want to hold traffic up too much. I also don't want to veer into the traffic coming towards me, which I just did. Oops. Get my speed to 60 then. Okay. Yeah, so in that ideal world, I want to be seeing this particular engine hold on to its gears just that little bit longer than the after-cooled version, because it needs a few more revs to produce the power or the torque that the driver needs. There aren't any electronic controls with this engine. This is all mechanical. The PC, the pre-combustion, is essentially indirect diesel injection. That's how old diesel engines used to work before they were all digitalized and meterized and direct injected and all that clever jazz. I've got a distinctive sound. My first two diesel passenger cars were indirect injection. And after a number of years, manufacturers got to the point where they could make those engines nicely quiet. And direct injection were generally louder. Because the pre-combustion, the pre-injection injection, it squirts the fuel-air mix into a different part of the engine before it's then shoved into the cylinder for burning, and it would start to burn a little sooner. So you could extend the sort of burn and soften it out a little bit and make it sound quieter. It worked quite well. Of course, these engines sound like a broken down washing machine with a bag of spanners, or a bag of wrenches, if you are American, on a spin cycle. So they don't, oh, I love the lighting this time of day. Squirrel! So they don't exactly sound, I won't say healthy, but they sound a little broken. They sound a lot broken. Right, let's use some aggressive engine braking here, and some service brake as well. Get the thing down to 20 miles an hour. There we go. Good enough. Alright, we're through. And then punch it back up to 60. I'm using cruise control to get myself back up to speed. I'm not going to use manual just right now, but I could do. Okay, limit's gone back up to 75. So yeah, I really want to see the engine hang on to its gears just a little bit longer with the turbo engine versus the after-cooled version. And from the look of this, it seems to be doing it. Yeah, it's shifting up to about 1300 in the higher gears, which is about right. So yeah, finding information on the older engines and seeing that there's I mean, back in the day, when you had naturally aspirated turbo and aftercooled variants of a similar engine, it's saying, well, how do I differentiate between these? Well, you can remove the turbo sound if it's naturally aspirated, sure. But you got to change the shift points, and with the torque curves looking kind of similar, but not quite, there are some clues. But watching videos and trying to understand the reason why the engines perform just that little bit different, that's been something I've been doing the last few days before producing this video. I don't think it's quite perfect yet. Let's move out of the way for the cement mixer. But I also don't think that any engine in my engine pack is really perfect. They're all just various stages of it's getting there perfect. Okay, I mean it's cranked up to 65 fairly easily. I mean it's not short of power. It's 375 horsepower. So yeah, I guess now we're going to see how much we weigh, and I'm reckoning we're going to be close to 80,000 pounds, maybe 70, 75. I'm going to go with but I don't know for sure. Now I will. Well, it's a bit of a queue for the bridge, for the way station. Is that 5? It's 5 trucks. Just we'll get the windows down. 64 degrees Fahrenheit tonight. It's quite a cool evening in the game. Certainly hasn't been that in Texas in the days leading up to making this video. It starts the day in the very high 70s, low 80s. So when did summer arrive? Late this year. So transmission-wise, we're using an engine transmission even from the Steele Productions Engine Pack. So 9-speed direct drive. It's I'm wondering whether the first gear really should be a crawler gear or a low gear, and I might change that. But yeah, so right now we're in first. And part of one of the things I do is I try and tune it so that it doesn't whip so much. And whipsawing, while I move it off from rest really slowly, like I'm doing now, really gently, really slowly, and get it up to speed where it wants to change into second gear. I don't want it to go to second and immediately lose a bit of speed and drop down to first gear. Alright, so you see there it went from first to second cleanly. That's good. Not all engines like to do that. It's a little weird why they don't. Okay, let's get ourselves weighed. 78,000 pounds, almost on the dot. The vehicle's not in perfect condition. No, it's not. And the reason why is my tyres are nearly 60% worn. Let's jump back into the cabin, I think. And the reason for that is 1 or 2 miles testing and just not replacing them. And so one of the things you'll notice as your tyres wear out in the game is you lose a bit of grip. Now, I know that seems obvious. That's what happens in real life, although real life passenger car experience is you generally can't tell a difference until it rains, and even then, if you let your tyres get that low, it's too late when you can tell the difference. Ask me why in the comments below. Yeah, you can probably guess. Right, so let's give it a full power acceleration up to 65. So I'm just going to let the transmission do its thing. We're not going to use cruise control here. See, when you use cruise control in ATS and ETS2, it removes all the adaptive stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So it shifts at the point, the lowest road speed it can to get into the next gear up. And when you do this without cruise control, it generally doesn't do that. Now, if you're going up a gradient, it does make a difference. Yeah, you see then, that really didn't make a difference. I guess it was just too flat. Oh well. Well, it's not exactly a ball of fire, but 80,000 pounds and something with 375 horsepower from the 1960s. I imagine this will be leaving a bit of a smoke trail behind me, because even though engines were not supposed to be dirty, soot-belching monsters, it wasn't really enforced till the 1970s, as I understand. Oh, we got one of these clover junctions or intersections. They're always fun. Easy to go too fast down these as well. A service brake. A bit more service brake. Downshift again. Okay, that'll do. That's probably still slightly quick, but okay. Gravity assist braking there. Okay, back on the power. Back it round. Yeah, I'm using now up to full power now just to maintain the thing going around the corner. This is where the modern engines really excel. They all that torque low down. I'm going to pull in front of this car. He should see me. If he doesn't, he's going to be a bit of a scratch on the back of my trailer. Right. And I'm gonna resume. I've hit resume on my cruise control, so we'll get up to speed with the autopilot effectively. Let's see. Yeah, I've got the standard fuel tanks, the standard small fuel tanks on this Mack R, and having to refuel, it seems every day is. I'm not going to say a pain because you take the rough with the smooth, but yeah, you got to refuel every day. And if you jump into something like a Kenworth W900 and you've got the 300-gallon extended tank or tanks, you've got big tankage. You don't have to stop every day. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Okay, keep it in the lane. Acceleration's just so gradual. It's not quite glacial pace, but it is taking its time. There we go. It comes off boost. You hear the change in engine note. You hear the whistling, stop whistling quite so loud. And if we look at our fuel consumption, the instantaneous number starts to move around quite a bit. It's not pegged at full power, full torque. I would say full throttle, but diesels don't really have a throttle in that sense. And we've averaged on this tank, which is not just this engine, just under 5. And I think that's reflective of, well, not so much the way I've driven it, but just older engines trying to simulate that they're not as efficient as modern ones. Oh, I'm speeding. I'm way speeding. Yeah, sorry. Wait. Was that a bit excessive on a slowdown? I think it might have been. Numpty. Yeah. Now it's like this bus better know where it's going. Speaking of buses, I saw that ETS2 is getting buses in the game, and that to me sounds amazing because I don't like buses in ATS, and I don't think I like them in ETS2 either. So ATS is getting road trip, which sounds fascinating. Explore the map in I guess a car, or I mean a pickup if you wanted to. I guess if you like that sort of thing, and I do see the appeal of pickup trucks, but unfortunately they come with an attitude reprogrammable RON that most people seem to run. But moving swiftly on, driving a bus. I think the bus comes with an attitude chip as well. I can't wait to cause them to be a menace through the UK in a tour bus. Sounds like my idea of fun. If I remember, which is extremely unlikely, there is Not Your Mama's School Bus, a video on the channel that I had a lot of fun with. And that mod was able to work for me, but it didn't work for many people. So it was good to roam around the country, and I think I might have used a Detroit Diesel V12, but it was a bit overpowered. I mean, I don't think a school bus could be. You go get to the bus stop before the kids start crying and screaming and making noise. And maybe if you're quiet, if you keep them quiet by driving like a lunatic, maybe that will help. I don't know. I'm not a school bus driver. Okay, I'm just being a little careful with the cargo here because those sorts of overpasses, with this thing being a little top heavy, it's quite straightforward to roll over. Where do you think you're going, Sunshine? Any Tesla? Shouldn't you be going to Poland or something? +2 geek points if you can get the reference there. Trying to curtail my words. I don't know if that is a Tesla or not. No, I don't think it is. Either way, it's ahead of me now. Right, we'll lift off the power, and it's not going to upshift. It doesn't want to right now. This is my exit. Take this. There's a bit of engine braking here. We'll downshift. Yep. Downshift again. A bit of service brake. So some cats did not have an engine brake. They used what Caterpillar called a brake saver. which was a fluid based system. It sounds a bit like a retarder, but it's not on the gearbox. It's on the engine. Of course, that heat has to go somewhere. Now, with an engine brake, if you're compressing air, the heat goes out the exhaust. So, pretty big advantage there is, yeah, you do heat up your exhaust pipe, but I don't believe you heat up your exhaust. You might increase your EGT, exhaust gas temperatures, but not through combustion. And I don't think that compressing air produces as much heat as burning diesel fuel and air. But if you have something that works a bit like a retarder, that heat in the retarder fluid has to go somewhere. And that will likely end up going through your cooling system. So there's a bit of a lag effect. And you end up increasing your engine coolant temperatures, which of course is what it's for, keeping everything cool. But going down a gradient could increase your engine coolant temperature at a time when your engine's potentially not turning over that quickly. So it's curious as to what the engineering solutions were for that kind of cooling system. And if you have any expertise or experience of these, and you feel like writing a small missive down below in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Not so much I can really simulate this, but I'm just curious to see, how that kind of technology was it used, because I seem to recall hearing that the V8 configuration really struggled with an engine brake. And I wonder if it's similar for other Cat engines, or if they just didn't want to license the Jacobs compression Jake or Jacobs Jake brake. I don't know. I'm curious as to how how and why that came to be a thing. And I do remember reading that some of the more powerful Cats, because you could climb a hill at sort of 1250, 1300 RPM, they had enough torque to let you do that. Of course, the problem with doing that is you're producing a lot of power from an engine running at fairly lower engine speeds, and that meant that your EGT went up, your exhaust gas temperature. And the reason there is because, well, the gas isn't moving out particularly quickly. Now, worse, you stopped before me, cop, so you should go. Thank you. If I start to move, he'll immediately stop. Thanks for making me wait, Sunshine. Appreciate that. Okay. I could have gone left here, to be fair, but oh well. Okay. So yeah, so the engine brake on this this engine is not as relatively powerful as the modern ones, modern engines, but it's still reasonable. And it doesn't automatically downshift like I've programmed some of the modern ones to do. Typically, your smaller capacity engines, I've programmed those. This plant is very pretty. Now, if I go to MWM, yes, I am. So I've got to go left here. What's this pickup doing? Did he vanish? Did I just imagine it? Oh, I don't know. Right. Here we are, Gov. Where do you want it? Okay. This one shouldn't be too difficult. This is 40 experience points as opposed to 90. I think I've seen one that's higher than 90, and that might be in Alaska. But it's like, yeah, I don't really feel like doing that. Thanks very much. So this is usually down a bit of a hill. Yeah, it is. At the base, then we back it up. Now, I don't imagine that we're going to be recycling the JCB, but I guess it's going to be put to service here. But, by the way, turn the corner, assess the spot. Yeah, it's a little tight, but it's doable. A lot of tight, actually. I'm going to use the external camera. That's a pretty Mac. I'm not very good at these reversing maneuver jobbies. They're a pain. I have the idea, but I don't have the patience for them, I think. And sometimes people try and give me advice on YouTube and they say, oh, you just got to do this, this, this. And I'm like, that's a cool story, bro, but I don't know what any of that technology stuff means. Usually because I'm stressing thinking about it, right? So I've left it a little too late, but I think I can correct it. Right. And then just try and get the end of the trailer pointing towards the end of the spot. Might be close enough here. Yeah. We'll help ourselves out. We'll pull forward. Just to straighten things out a little bit. There's not that much space in front of me, but there's enough. Okay. So we're straightening out. We'll try and line up the back of the trailer. Yep, close enough. Straighten things up a little. So we do a little bit of left hand down. I think that's about straight. Oh, nearly. Well, I think it's going to be good enough. Okay. That works for me. Like I say, it's good enough for what I'm looking for, which is my 40 experience points. Thank you very much. So fuel consumption for the run, I'm going to say 5, plus or minus a little bit. Let's take a look. Dum dum dum. So we covered 234 miles, and we did 50.8 gallons. So that's about 4.5. Yeah, not as efficient as I'd hoped, but given what we did and how we did it and what we were using and where we did it, that's probably about right. I don't think 60s and 70s big rigs were known for their efficiency. So, hope you got something from that. And thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you the next time. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.